Hi, everybody. This is Dawn Mitchell, and welcome to another edition of Dawn of Sports. Today, Jim and I were talking about this amazing book that, and I'm being honest, it actually had me in tears. It's called See Her, Be Her. We not only have the amazing founder of Grassroots Baseball, Jeff Idelson, but also the woman behind these amazing pictures that tell the story without even having to read the text. Just unbelievable, Jean Fruth. So we're going to get into women, baseball all around the world, and I really encourage everybody to pick up this book because it's such a visual masterpiece. We'll talk about why it had me in tears coming up.
That's right. This book is See Her, Be Her. They enlisted some interesting help here. Forward by Billie Jean King. Preface by Claire Smith, a Hall of Fame baseball writer that Jeff and I both know well. Introduction by somebody named Cal Ripken Jr., and of course the photographs by Jean Fruth. It is fantastic. Just to reset this show, this is Dawn of Sports. This is one of our shows at talknorth.com. Best way to listen to this show or any show at the network, please subscribe to your favorite podcast app. And we are coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services studio. And as a matter of history, I got to know Jeff when he was doing PR for the New York Yankees, very high-stress job. Then he moved to a higher-stress job, president of the Baseball Hall of Fame. I got to know him then. It's been great to follow his career, and I'm really just so proud of him. I don't know if proud's the right word. That sounds weird, but excited by what he's doing with his life and his time right now. Back to Dawn.
Well, Jeff, you can say proud, right? Do you like that when someone says they're so proud of what you have done?
Especially when it's someone like Jim Souhan. I mean, that makes me feel even more proud. So, no, it's totally fine. Yes, I've lived a charmed life. And when I was getting ready to leave the Hall of Fame, and Gene was getting ready to found Grassroots Baseball, it took me all of 2 seconds to say, yes, I'd like to hop on board and do that with you. So all is good.
Well, forget the Yankees part. That's all I have to say. Being a lifelong Red Sox fan, now in Minnesota, I'm so sorry. But it's okay. Them. That's a problem.
I worked for the Red Sox before the Yankees, but they wouldn't keep me, so I had to go to the evil empire. And I did all that I could to help them lose on average 97 games a year the 5 years I was there. But it's not my fault that Toronto and Baltimore were really good then and Boston wasn't.
We'll just call you Roger Clemens then. Sorry.
Okay.
Benedict Arnold, all of that. But I'm so glad both of you are joining us today. I always believe in the See Her, Be Her. That's been my whole entire life. And I know I said this off the top that I was in tears. So my little backstory is my dad was cut by the Dodgers as a teenager. And so it was, and I have 4 brothers. So baseball was huge in our household. That when my dad bought me my first glove, which was a Wilson, my brothers had Rawlings. I was not happy. I wanted the same as my brothers, but he made sure to oil it, wrap it in twine, roll the car over it. So when his daughter, who was stuck in right field, could catch the ball, it would pop. And he taught me how to throw. And baseball has just always been a part of my life. My very first game, I was born, don't hold it against me, I was born in New Jersey. We moved to Massachusetts when I was in first grade, but kindergarten, I went to, my first game was a Mets game. And I had my glove. And it was just a lifelong thing. My dad, when we buried him, was buried with one of his baseballs that he kept his entire life. He played in Ebbets Field. He made sure that when we were kids, we packed up in the station wagon and we drove to Cooperstown. We had to go to the Ebbets Field area. And so baseball for me, I played baseball until the team went to girls softball. They got rid of the girls baseball little league team, which I think women of kind of my generation, Gen X, we kind of dealt with that. There were not outlets for women to actually continue to play baseball. So when I started, Jean, and seeing your pictures along with everything in this book, I literally was crying because it was beautiful. It was See Her, Be Her. I never saw any female baseball players. I was just trying to play for myself. But to see these young, powerful women, and then to see the women that played in a league of their own, it just wrapped it up so beautifully for me. So I guess I want to start first with you, Jean, and say, what I loved about these pictures, and I know most of the people are listening to this podcast, so you have to get the book, to see the power and kind of the grittiness and the sheer love in these young women's faces today all over this world. How did that affect you? I know you probably ran the gamut of emotions.
Yeah, it's See Her, Be Her. We did the book. It's a companion to a documentary by the same name, See Her, Be Her. And the point of the documentary and the book was to give visibility to these girls and women. Because people, even inside baseball, don't know that girls and women play baseball and how big of a sport it is for girls and women, not just here in the United States, but all around the world. There are over 25 countries that have women national teams. We have a World Cup, a women's baseball World Cup. And baseball, I mean, in a small country like South Korea, there's 50 professional women's baseball teams in South Korea. And yes, the professional men's team, the men get paid and the women don't. So there's some things that need to happen and we need a little more progress, but progress is happening, and just giving the visibility with the hopes of creating more opportunity is always what it's been about. That's what makes the work so rewarding, is surrounding the work with a purpose. And there's no better partner than Jeff Idelson to do this with. But to go to your actual question, when women and girls see the film, getting the reaction from women like you that say, I started to play, but I had no opportunity. There was no outlet for me. My high school wouldn't let me play. I had to switch to softball. And it makes me so happy to see that there's now opportunities for girls and older women than you saying, like, I always wanted to play, but I was never allowed to play baseball, and sports weren't even too much of a thing for women, like way back in the day. And then you see a dad like get the book for his daughter or see the film, and they were on the fence whether or not they should support their daughter playing the game. And I don't know, that's going to be tough for her. What should I do? Should I encourage her or try to switch her to softball? And then that one book, or he sees that, oh, it's more than just her, that this is a movement, that this is happening. And then it makes him, it pushes him or gives him that little extra push to support his daughter in the game, and then and surround his daughter with support. So all of those things really just make it so worthwhile, and getting those comments like yours, Dawn. So I appreciate it.
Well, Jeff, what was the catalyst for you? I speak a lot with my colleagues being in sports, and they say they're supportive of women, but it wasn't until they had a daughter that they really understood it. But there are men that don't have daughters that get it right away. So what was the catalyst for you to get behind a project like this and to support women in baseball as well?
Well, when Gene and I made the decision to morph into that girls and women in baseball, it was easy because it made a lot of sense, because grassroots baseball is all about giving a voice in underrepresented communities, and girls baseball was severely underrepresented. And I do have a daughter, so that played, I certainly had that in the back of my mind. But, as we looked at this objectively, and we saw that the game had such bigger roots outside of the United States, and we could make a difference by shining a spotlight on it, that was enough for me. And, as Gene said, now that we're seeing opportunities for girls and women, that's big, and we only hope that the opportunities will continue to grow.
I really loved Billie Jean King's opening quote, and I'm going to read it to you. It says, "There I was, a girl who was good at sports, realizing that because I was female, I could not grow up to be a baseball player. It crushed me." And we all know what she went on to be. And also she's supporting the PWHL now. Either one of you, whoever wants to answer first, when you have an athlete like Billie Jean King, who played multiple sports, that is willing to put her neck on the line for not only obviously tennis, but for baseball, for hockey, to really kind of make sure that women are heard. You get powerful names like Billie Jean King, you get Cal Ripken Jr., and I believe Cal's wife is a judge. So you get these powerful names in sports that do not have to be convinced to lend a voice. How powerful was that for both of you to be like, wow, this is incredible?
Go, Jean?
Sure. I mean, Billie Jean King, obviously, it worked out well for her. Even though she didn't get the baseball opportunity, she did all right. And the most famous tennis player, she'll be known for women tennis player in the world. But what she's more known for even than that now, and will be, her legacy is certainly being an advocate for all women's sports, and an advocate for equality, and lending her voice to many sports. And and what she's doing for the PWHL. And the whole point of it is all these sports help each other, right? And what she's doing and the things that she says, like it makes you want to be involved. And I see her tirelessly. We saw her at the Olympics for women's hockey. And I thought, there she is. She's just doing it. And if she can do it, and she's in her 80s, well, man, I just got to eat my Wheaties and keep going, because I want to do it too and keep going. And that's what it takes. It takes podcasts like this. It takes everybody. It's a village creating this visibility and doing our part to grow all women's sports, because women's hockey helps women's baseball. Women's basketball helps women's baseball. All of it, it's not just one. Mm-hmm. And when you look at it, all of these sports want to grow. They want to get bigger. The Major League Baseball wants more fans. Hockey wants more fans. Well, there's 50% of the population sitting there. Makes a lot of sense. Like, look at the numbers. Let's get the women involved. Let's get them playing. Let's get them watching. It's a business that can grow. And when you look at it as an investment and a business, good things can happen. That's what the PWHL is doing. And it's, already paying off for them. They went from 6 teams to 8 teams. Of course, they had the success in the Olympics, which is not going to hurt. And they'll go to 10 teams or 12 teams. And all of this visibility, the Women's Olympics, women's hockey is going to help women's baseball. Is it going to be a slog and take time? Yes. But the door is opened and closed, and I believe the door will now stay open for women in baseball. And we're just going to see good things happen.
We're really lucky here. We have the Minnesota Lynx. We have really good high school women's and girls athletics. We're right next to a Big Ten university that's invested in its women's athletics. We have the PAWHL team. We have the Minnesota Aurora, started by a friend of ours, Andre Yak, that has been kind of become a national story for semi-pro women's development soccer. We have a lot going on here. And in line with that, we are coming from the Aquarius Home Services studio. And here at TalkNorth.com, we just made a very significant hire. Our new vice president of business development is Tammy Henderson. You'll be hearing a lot about her and from her. And she also wants to grow our women's sports coverage and women's sports podcasts. So hopefully we'll see more as Tammy gets settled into her new job. And I'll give it back to Dawn.
Jean, you said something really powerful earlier when, not that there weren't places, because we know that there wasn't any advancement for some women to take baseball to the next level, but the support there. And from fellow women, like my mom was a smart, independent woman, and wanted me to be the best I could. But when I said, I want to play on the boys team, I remember her line was, you're not going to be that girl. Which I think now, if my mom were still alive, she'd be like, I wish I said something different, but she didn't want me to rock the boat that way. And I was terrible at softball. And people say, well, baseball and softball, my hands were so small. I could not catch a softball. For me, it was different. And at that time, I was a waif of a girl. I didn't have any power behind me to hit a softball. It was just different for me. So I ended up going into soccer, which turned into my sport. But it's hard to explain to people. It's not that my mom didn't support me, but back then, women didn't want to put the ripple into the water, so to speak. And now that is changing, it's shifting. So the moms are getting behind it. The dads are getting behind it. Have you seen that shift?
Oh, for sure. I mean, It would be so great, of course, to see, and we're seeing the movement of all girls teams, and that is just terrific. Baseball for all in the Bay Area, they have over 1,000 girls on playing on all girls teams, and so when that opportunity is there, that's terrific too. But then you see the trailblazers of these girls playing on boys teams, and of course it's difficult, especially as they get older, to stay in the game and to compete in the game, and it becomes but possible, and that's the path. And sure, will we see a woman play Major League Baseball? Probably one day, but that's definitely not the point. The point is opportunity for all to play. If you were a boy, an 8-year-old boy, and you wanted to play Little League and you were absolutely awful, you had the chance to still play.
That was me.
Have fun. Yeah. So, and that's right. So it's not just for this super athlete, the Kelsey Whitmore, who gets to play in the minor leagues. How incredible for her. She gets to be at that level, but you should be able to play even if like you're out there picking daisies and you want to be part of the team. Like, so whatever, it's the opportunity from the ground up, and having those opportunities, and having more women's teams and more opportunity for girls to play on all girls teams. Not every girl can play on a boys team and is built that way. And sometimes there's isolation and things that happen. So it's a tougher road. So supporting it, your mom was also probably thinking about, what's that going to be like for Dawn?
Yes.
So there's all the things that she's thinking about and trying to make that decision. So it's a hard one, but the more we expand, and the more things like your Minnesota Twins, who, have an all girls, team in baseball now, supporting that, those kind of initiatives. And you hope somebody sees what they do, and then someone else does it. And it's the grassroots movement, and it's happening. Progress is certainly being made. It's exciting.
Yeah. I mean, Jeff, I'm sure in all of your dealings, you've either come in contact with or know of, like Eve Rosenbaum, there's so many other, Brooke Cooper. There's so many women that are now, on the executive side of baseball, really kind of making their imprint. What have you noticed in terms of changing the game that way in the front office, and also on coaching staffs now? Maybe someday we'll see a Kelsey Whitmore in the major leagues, but again, just like Jean said, that's not the point. The point is making it more visible for women and on every side, on the field, in the front office.
Absolutely, Dawn. And it's a very good point. It's not just about playing the game, but it's being involved with the game. And if you love baseball, I mean, that's, like you, Jim, I was a horrible 8-year-old little leaguer, but I wanted a life in baseball. And because I was a guy, it was a lot easier for me to try to find that path. And so what you're seeing now, thankfully, it's taking quite some time, but you're starting to see those opportunities exist for women. So you have, in Detroit and in Baltimore, both groundskeepers head groundskeepers are women. You have all women broadcast crews now starting, trainers who are women, minor league coaches who are women, and in the front office. So, you're starting to see more of that, which is great in terms of providing opportunity. But as Jean said, it's also about trying to grow the fan base. And if you have women involved in baseball in all junctures, all you're doing is increasing your popularity of the sport as well. So to me, it's a win-win. It's a shame it's taken so long, but thankfully it's happening.
Well, and Jim, just to speak to you, you wanted to be in it and you became a writer, right? And have that love for baseball still to this day.
Yeah.
Right.
And I had tons of opportunities, and just to reiterate the point you've all made, I didn't have to be good at baseball to be able to play baseball, which led to me wanting to write about baseball. And women should have those opportunities.
One quote I also want to read, and I love this. And Jean, I don't know if you played sports or not, but I'm assuming that you did. But if not, being around it, Justine Siegel, who founded Baseball for All, said, "When girls play together, it's magical. They're so used to being the only girl, and suddenly they're part of a team." And I loved that because I had 4 brothers. So whenever we played in the backyard or in the street yelling car, I was already part of a team. But when I see my other friends who were girls that did not have that already, to see them first become a part of a team, they changed. Like the glow up, it was amazing.
It's true. I mean, what she said, when I was shooting the grassroots game and kids games at you'd see one girl on a little league team, and you'd get to the little league game, and they'd say, "Oh, there's a girl on the team. Oh, do you see the girl? Oh, get your camera ready. The girl's going to pitch next inning." Yeah. So it was kind of like that, and then when my first all girls baseball game, it was just right under the high school age, maybe like 13, 14 years old, and now girls were playing against all girls. They were not. It wasn't about being girls. They were just athletes, and they were playing like the boys do and it is magical to see that happen, and just to see them be athletes and supporting that. Ichiro Suzuki said something when we interviewed him for our documentary, and it was so cool. He said, let's not talk about the level right now of where they're at. Let's not talk about what we're seeing today. Let's talk about what it can be if we support them, if we give them a stage, if we give them the support, if we give them the coaching. What can it be? So support that. Don't look at the game right now. There's 4 teams. There's going to be a new professional women's baseball. You can go and say, oh, nobody's here, or, oh, they're not that good. Sure, really easy. We can pick apart anything so easily today, right? But or you can say, they're just getting started. What can we do to get more fans here? What can we do to help them raise their level of play? What can we do to give them visibility and make more people want? All of those things that we can do. That's what the PWHL, I think, is doing so well, is that they're saying this is about investing in the future, and we're going to create a pipeline, and we're going to put a great product on the ice or on the field. I love that, and it's possible with the right support.
Jeff, I wanted to ask you what maybe elicited the most emotion from you in terms of working on not only the documentary project, but this book, like Be Her, See Her. I know for me, when I was reading the book, I was writing down, I have all these notes about what pictures just elicit like these emotions in me. And I wasn't ready for many of them, to be honest with you, because I'm a female in sports. I'm surrounded by sports all the time. I see videos, pictures. But that's why I want to give Jean these kudos. They're just so powerful. So I always like to pick the brains of people that work on these projects after a while. Is there something that sticks in your mind emotionally that stuck out to you?
I think what stuck in my mind, Dawn, was realizing how big the girls and women's game is outside of the U.S. and the joy that they were having playing in these other countries versus the being in the U.S. where we think we're the be all and the end all to everything. And it started as a domestic project. Dawn, we thought we were just going to do something on the growth of girls and women in baseball here, with the different Alyssa Nacken, the different women making history. But as we realized how global the story was, and saying, why can't this happen here? Title IX was the greatest thing since sliced bread, but look what it did. I mean, it drove a stake in between girls baseball and girls softball. So for me, I think the emotional pull was seeing these women in large quantities, such as we would tournament in South Korea. We were at a tournament with 6 or 8 teams, and just seeing the pure joy in a much bigger sense than, as Jean said, the one girl who might get in and play. And that to me struck a really big chord of like what could be if we wanted to have something like that happen in this country.
Yeah, I remember that picture when you just said that. I believe that one of the teams in South Korea they're playing in the snow, and just the joy,
Going to do in a few days.
What was that?
Like you're going to do in a few days.
Oh, that's right. Well, I want, playing like me, I'll be sitting talking about it, saying, I wish I was out there running around right now. But just to see that they didn't care, Jean, that it was snowing out and they're all jumping in the air and they're just kind of playing this game that should not be played in snow, by the way, but just embracing it like that. There was that joy yet fierceness that was combined, and then your pictures from Japan, and there was so many. I mean, Cuba, Uganda, when they're practicing, where there was, I'm like, is that a bull? Is that a steer? I couldn't quite sure what they're running in front of, but I don't know if I would have. Like, just the sheer joy, like Jeff was saying, that must have been incredible to be behind the lens of all that.
Oh, really? And then seeing the different, baseball has the same rules, right? But it's played the same, but it certainly looks different in different countries. And
Mhm.
then the way they play, when we had the World Cup and USA played Japan, shocking, right? Um, uh, and seeing Japan's like small ball game and how they were bunting around the bases and frustrating the USA team, and USA was hitting for power, and just seeing that kind of fun like rivalry between the two. And then seeing Uganda was probably the most moving part of the project.
Yeah.
Just there's 8 regions in Uganda where women are playing baseballs. And there was a second story there that we had to tell, so we knew we had to stay there longer because unpacking that one is big.
Mm.
But it's the see her, be her moment, and them saying, hey, we're just as athletic as everybody else you're showing us here. We just need the opportunity.
Yeah, and you actually put that picture on the cover, that kind of grabs you right away. Like, oh, I want to see more of this. Like, I believe her name was Lillian Naiga, if I'm saying her last name correctly, catcher, shortstop. And I literally, as soon as I saw the cover, I'm like, I've got to fast forward to that part of the book and just to read more about her. And then I went back. It's just like you said, it just kind of grabs you right away.
And you realize the power of sports and what it can do for everybody, right? What it does for little boys, well, it does the same for little girls. All the life lessons that we learn from sports. We know that, kids who play sports have better outcomes with their grades, with health, learning how to be part of a team. It's not I, me. It's a team, and all of the just everything that you learn. Well, and of course those women in Uganda, what it's doing for them and keeping them in school. There's programs around the women's baseball there, and just so how much good it's doing for them in this grassroots level.
So I wrote down page numbers of pictures that surprisingly caught me off guard. Like I knew I would just be blown away by seeing the pictures of the Saito in Japan and all of that. But on page 110, for anyone listening right now, there is a picture, and it's called Connecting with Generations in San Francisco. And it was a picture so simply of a girl and her dad walking away. So it's the picture of their backs. Where he is kind of holding, I think, her backpack, and she's walking with her equipment. And so just for me, being the only girl for boys and my dad, I'm like, wow, like that moment just kind of struck me. And also then on page 159, Kellyanne Jenkins. So I believe she plays in Chatham University. She's a pitcher, surrounded, and it was 2 boys on either side, which was me and my 4 brothers, just in my brain. That's why I say it's so personal, I think, for everybody who picks up this book, just to see her with her 4 male teammates on her college team. Those are just, for me, surprising. Like I thought, oh my gosh, I'd be driven to tears by some of these other ones, which I was. But I think this is such a book that can be personal for women, whether or not they played. I never played in college. I never played on a baseball game. I never had that moment with my dad carrying my equipment, but he supported me playing baseball. So is it shocking to both of you just how personal this book and the documentary can hit women on all different levels and men?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it's I mean, it's surprising once they see it, but but we're hearing what you're saying, Dawn, a lot, and so it's certainly girls and women are having those moments where it's really, really resonating, and it's really nice to see, and also you're hearing it from parents more than anything. It's just like, oh my God, I mean, this is like really hitting home. The nice thing that just the follow up on Kellyanne Jenkins, because that was a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
As she graduated from Chatham, she is now the pitching coach at her high school boys team in Virginia, and they won states last year. And Gene and I saw her at the Maria Pepe tournament in Williamsport, and she's like, we won states, and I was the pitching coach for the boys team. So I mean, she's she's just taken it to that next level and embraced it, and it's just so great to see.
But and staying on her for a minute, it was her dad that supported her in high school, and without her dad, she wouldn't have stayed in the game because she was getting such pressure to switch to softball by her school, and her dad taught her how to throw a knuckleball to get her to stay in the game longer and compete. And she just mastered that knuckleball. We went, and then she continued on to college ball and played all the way through on her men's college team. And we were there for a doubleheader. She had the start for the second game, and she got the win. And it was so fun seeing her throw that knuckleball, knowing the story. And if her dad didn't support her at that moment to keep her in the game, she wouldn't be coaching right now and continuing her career in baseball. So it's pretty cool.
Oh, that just brought up, so years and years ago when CBS had Major League Baseball, and I was on their traveling crew. So Jim Cott was our color commentator. And then for the first 2 years, it was Dick Stockton. And then it was Greg Gumbel. And just for a young girl, like literally in school and then right out of school, to travel with these greats and just to be accepted. Like I was like their daughter almost. But one memory is to have these gifts, this luxury is Cecil Fielder, and I don't know why that's coming back, but son Prince was little, so we're going back a ways. He wanted to throw a ball, just as a pregame, when it's that time before batting practice and people are just starting to trickle out on the field. That's magical time for me. I got to meet so many of these greats that I grew up watching. And so I remember, like, Greg Gumbel was just teasing me because I love him. And Greg was like, well, you can't throw with him because you throw like a girl. And he knew, like, with the wink in his eye, because that would kind of get that fire within me, right? I'd be like rolling up my sleeves like, oh, yeah. And I felt like that 5-year-old girl again, like trying to prove the boys wrong. But so at first, like, he was in close. And I remember little Prince watching. And then he backed up and he's like, bring the heat, like, bring it. And he was like, who taught you how to throw? And I said, my dad, and he's like, because you've got it. Like, it's not over. It was kind of more a little sidearm. But it was like just this pride of me beaming. And then Greg goes, I knew you could do it. I just wanted to spark it. And I go, I knew you were just kind of jabbing me. But just to have that kind of fun and to be like, okay, I'm going to back it up. Show me what you got. Show me what you got. And he's like, oh, I can tell you love baseball because you also played it. And I said, yes. And so that just sparks so many emotions there's so many women out there that are listening going, I've had that, oh yeah, I'll show you moment. And I saw those in the pictures. And I'm sure you both have experienced seeing women on different levels, even professionally, kind of like that little flicker in her eyes, like, oh yeah, all right, I'm going to bring the heat now.
Yeah, it is. And seeing now, I mean, that was done in fun and in jest,
yes,
and with support. And that's just the cool thing now, is that the support is there. I mean, of course, there's always the haters. That's okay. I mean, it's with everything. But overall, just seeing so much more progress and so much more support, it's going to be great. It's just, and seeing all the other success in all the other women's sports.
Yeah.
That's tremendous, right? It's just in soccer, in basketball. I mean, when we interviewed Cal for the project, I said, so I'm curious. And it was right when the college basketball, women's college basketball was heating up a few years ago. It was, a big deal. Caitlin Clark, was the name. And so I go, I'm just curious, did you watch any of the women's basketball this year? And he goes, I'll have you know, I only watched the women's basketball this year. And then he threw out all the stats. And he definitely watched it more than I did. And he like threw me. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, it's the real deal. And him and his wife, Laura, watched every minute of all that women's basketball. And he could tell you all about it and the numbers. And it was quite impressive to lead into our women in baseball conversation, how much he supports it.
Well, to piggyback off that, Jeff, I think he tells in his foreword, he talks about his sister Ellie, who was the best baseball player out of the whole group of them, and how he saw that she didn't really have a place to go. So that really affected him. Like, I always talk about my brothers, but my brothers were my biggest supporters in sports, so it's kind of cool to hear someone like Cal Ripken kind of say that story.
Absolutely, and I mean that's the beauty of the film is the input of the major leaguers, the stars who are supporting women's baseball, and to have that validation from players like Cal Ripken, Ichiro, who puts on, he stages a game every year in Tokyo against the girls' high school all-stars to give them a platform and to give them visibility. And he puts together his own team. He had Matsui and Daisuke Matsuzaka on it last year, to Jimmy Rollins, to Chano Park, to Ferguson Jenkins, to Tony Perez. They're all there to support. They believe in it. And, it's not that the girls and women should need it, but it certainly does help.
Oh, it really does. Just the support and knowing that you belong in a different sense. You see the young boys now being like, well, one of my friend's sons, and Jim knows this, Natalie Darwitz, she's one of the most decorated female hockey players, and definitely on those front lines of kind of getting the visibility. She has sons, and when they first saw boys play, like, Mom, boys play hockey too? So just to have that pureness of like, well, yes, boys play too. Like, they were shocked. I mean, that's kind of cool.
That's great. Well, I like that you said, knowing you belong. And I'm sure your early days of what you were doing, at moments, you probably could question that. I mean, I know as a photographer, like the early days, there wasn't as many women photographing baseball, photographing sports, and sports photographers. And now it's you see so much more of it. And so these young women get to either come in playing or come in, supporting the game, or like you say, executives on the field, off the field, and they know that there's a place for them, and that's growing.
I think for me personally, one of the best lines, one of my mentors was Leslie Visser. And she said, she was the one encouraging me to go in front of the camera. And she said, whenever I see another woman, whether it's on the baseball diamond, for warm-ups, or whether it's on a football sideline, it makes me so happy. And I had met on my kind of rung up the ladder, had met other women where they didn't like that. They wanted to be the only woman there. There was kind of that, like, I've fought so hard to get here, I'm going to be the only woman. And I remember Leslie's words. And then years later, as I'm now on TV, and I've sat many a press box where I look around and I'd be bummed because I'm the only woman, like the only. Unless you were going to go get some food, and maybe there was a woman in the cafeteria helping serve the food. And people say, well, you were used to that in your family with the brothers. And I said, yeah, but my brothers would always include women or young girls in the neighborhood to come play. And so I just, now I look around, and I look around press boxes everywhere I go, and I just hearken back to Leslie's words, like, I'm so happy when I see more women. And it was years ago, and one of my colleagues from a different station, and he's wonderful, said, hey, look over there. Are those the wives of some of the players up there in the back part of the press box? And I looked up and I went, no, that's CBS, NBC, and ABC from Chicago. That's the visiting. And he said, I'm such a jerk. I go, you're not. You're just not. I said, it's one of those rare times when all of the women that were awesome from the TV stations of the visiting team were in town. But he
Amazing.
said, no, I'm better than that. And I love that reality that he automatically just thought, oh, who are those women's faces that look like they belong, but he didn't know who they are, had to be wives of some players. So I think that even good people are learning now that they just don't assume that anymore. Have you found that to be true?
Oh, I mean, we go back to Tony Perez, who, I don't know, how old is Tony Perez, Jeff?
Like 83, maybe 82.
Okay. Yeah. And I wondered, I said, did you ever see a woman like playing sports when you grew up? And he goes, oh my God, absolutely not. I've never seen anything like that. We women were not, playing sports, and I never, and him like changing his mindset. I mean, at 83 years old and going, you know what? Like, yeah, I want to see this. I think I like it better this way. I am enjoying the evolution of this and want to be part of that. And that's like always harder, right? Somebody that age where, you grow up one way and you say, okay, women's play, especially in, a Latin culture, okay, you are in the kitchen, you're raising the children, and a very traditional, and that's what he grew up with. There's, nothing wrong with what he was thinking. It was completely his surrounding, but being able to evolve and saying, I'd like to see something different. I say bravo to that. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I can say that like when I said, if you think about it, when I said my dad as a young teenager was cut from the Brooklyn Dodgers, he was older. He was older than my mom, and so I saw him change. Not that he was ever, no, you can't do that, but even like household chores. It'd be like, I'd always be the one setting the table, cleaning up the table. And I'm like, finally I said, why am I always doing this? How come my brothers aren't? My mom just went, yeah, Ed, how come she is? He goes, I go, they eat more than I do. They're more slobby. Why aren't they cleaning up the dishes? And my dad was like, well, they rake leaves and they do stuff in the yard. I'm like, I'll do that. I said, and my dad goes, well, okay. And then I remember when I was older, he's like, that song, he always loved that song, I Did It My Way, right? By Frank Sinatra. And he's like, this is kind of you, kid. And I said, my mom goes, you can change a guy from Brooklyn, an older guy from Brooklyn. You can change a lot of things. So, it is to see that change, just like it's see her, be her. If they don't see it, they don't know it. That's what I always say. It depends on what the age is. It doesn't mean that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I taught my dad new tricks. So it can happen.
It's so good.
Well, before we let you go, I loved how the ending was with Maybelle Blair, who said, I want to see another league of our own. I want to see that come full around. For either of you, just in general, would you love to see from the documentary and this book? And also, I would love for people that are listening to know where they can actually go and see the documentary as well as get the book. But what is maybe your biggest takeaway from both of you?
You want me to start or you want to start?
Sure, Jeff.
Okay. Yeah. I always defer to Gene, Don.
Oh, you're
everything. I think, we're thrilled. We're thrilled there's a women's professional baseball league. I mean, there's no secret about that. That's great. And excited to see where that goes. And I hope people give it a chance to grow. But more so, Little League has started a program where they're really, embracing the girls' game. And what we'd love to see is the stigmatism gone that you have to play softball when you're in school and you can play baseball.
Yes.
And seeing more girls have the opportunity to not have to even ask the question, but just choose baseball. And then eventually you hope that you'll see teams start to develop in Little League so that girls can play with girls. And that pipeline can continue to grow. And for those that see the book and film that aren't baseball fans, we just hope it empowers them to do what they want to do and know that they can do what they want to do.
Awesome. Jean?
And I hope that Maybelle, now that she's the ripe age of 99, I hope she's out there throwing out the first pitch for their first game for our new league. There's been a bit of a time since the 1950s with the AHL. So they've had a dry spout. It's time for a new league. So I hope Maybelle's out there doing her thing, and so proud of her and the ambassador that she is.
Oh, that's
so, Jeff,
amazing.
to get the book and the film?
Yeah. So the film is streaming on Amazon. So if you just have to go to Amazon and click on, type in See Her Be Her into Prime Video. And then on the book side, just our website, seeherbeher.org, seeherbeher.org. Pretty simple. You can order a copy of the book and Gene will sign it and you'll have an author signed copy delivered to your home.
Just absolutely amazing. And bring your tissues. That's what I say.
And Dawn, I would be remiss, since we're talking to you in the Twin Cities, not to mention that the Twin Cities does have some real estate in this film. The USA women's team practice at University of Minnesota, so you'll see that in the film if you watch. A bar of their own. We have a scene with Jillian and her crew over there. So Twin Cities definitely has some real estate in See Her Be Her.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love to hear that. I didn't see it in the book. So is it in the documentary?
It's in the
Oh,
documentary.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited
We'll send you a
go
link.
find it. Oh, thank you. That would be amazing. That would be amazing. I know. I can't wait to see. I'm hoping, just like with the PWHL and just like WNBA, I'm hoping to see the new league for baseball take off, and for it to be good, because what I see when I watch the USA and the World Cup and all the classics, and even just going through this book and seeing women from around the world, there's this fierceness that I spoke about earlier that I just love. Like young women now don't have to be ashamed of showing that grit and that fierceness. And I think that comes along with the joy. So I say kudos to you both because you captured it all.
Well, I say kudos to you, Dawn, because you're a trailblazer on your own, doing what you did, especially back in the day. And here you are continuing to do it. So without you, it's great to have the first like you and like the others, but now you get to look to the left and right of you and see other young women. And that's thanks to you being a trailblazer. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It reminds me of that commercial not long ago that someone did, like, what does it mean to run like a girl? Show me, and like women my age, maybe even a little younger, we kind of like, they did it almost like as if you're being a little like fancy, and then the younger girls came in fierce. Like, this is what it means to run and throw like a girl. Like, it didn't even come to their mind that they should even make fun of themselves, and I guess I learned at an early age. My brother's like, no, like, she taught me hockey. I don't know anything about hockey. Like, Dawn would be the one yelling at the TV. And so I learned quickly at a probably in my 20s, like, no, I'm not going to say throw like a girl. I'm not going to say that because I'm not going to insult my own gender. And I think now that's just like, Natalie's son, like, boys play hockey. I like that's not even in their realm of thinking. So that gives me so much hope for the future, as does documentaries and books like yours. So the future's bright. And I just want to thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, both of you. Thanks, Jim. Such a pleasure to meet both of you.
Great to meet you. I'm sure we'll be talking again, and just best of luck with all this. And let us know when you have new developments, anything.
That's very kind of you, Jim and Dawn. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm going to run to Amazon to see it.
For women's hockey playoffs.
Pardon?
I'm assuming we're going to be heading your way for women's hockey playoffs.
Good.
With the Frost?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're up there, aren't they, Jeff?
They're
I think
third
they're in
place.
third right now. Yeah.
Yeah, all of you know.
Yeah.
All of you said third at the same time. I love it.
Well, what's really cool for me is so one of my I have friends that now have kids, and two of my nephews, they're in the NBA, but one of my friends, when your best friends' kids are your nephews, it's not by blood. But one of my dear friends now, their daughter is in the PWHL. So like now I'm seeing my friends' daughters play pro. And that was such an overwhelming, again, a feeling I wasn't ready for. Like, oh my gosh. Yeah. Elle Harchie, who plays for the New York Siren. And I'm just like, Sirens. And I was like,
we'll be seeing her next week. They're playing a game in Madison Square Garden.
Yes.
Saturday.
Yes. So look for Elle Harchie. Hartje. Yep. Okay. So her dad, Todd, played minor league hockey. He actually wrote a book about so this is way back when Dave Letterman was still on the air, but he wrote a book called Behind the Red Line. So he went to Harvard, he played in the AHL, and they sent him over to Russia to play in the Soviet Elite League when it was still the Iron Curtain. And he wrote about his experience. And he's originally from Minnesota, but I met him in Boston because the guys on the Providence Bruins would call him Shakespeare because he wrote a book. And so that was my first story in TV I did. I met Todd and his new wife, Nikki. Well, now they have 4 kids. And so Todd wrote that book. Nikki was captain of the tennis team at Harvard. So she's fierce. She's a lawyer. She also was an agent. And just to see one of her 2 daughters now play pro hockey like her dad. And he's like, yeah, but I never made it to the NHL. She's in the PWHL. Like, she went higher than her dad. For me, that is just so cool to see.
Yeah.
So
And Jim, I don't think I ever got a better text than when Nightingale sent me a picture of Nikki hosting the trophy over her head first year for Minnesota.
Yeah, that was great stuff.
Yeah,
very happy for Bobby.
Now, Bobby Nightingale, for anybody who doesn't know, is our baseball writer at Star Tribune. I was the baseball writer back in the 90s. Bobby is fantastic, and and his he has an athletic family.
Yeah, you gotta love that. It's now we're getting to the age where it's our friends' kids, but I'm down with that. If that's what's going to happen, I'm okay. Like Bobby Carpenter, I didn't know him when I was growing up, but I watched him play hockey, and his daughter Alex Carpenter, obviously on the U.S. team and stuff. So to see these, whether you're a writer, a pro athletes, just someone who's been in that sports field, to see them celebrate their daughters now is just awesome.
Amazing,
Yes.
so amazing.
Peabody High School done.
Peabody, woo woo! I know my friends go, "Do you know people from Peabody?" I'm like, "You're not one of us." Well, thank you guys. I appreciate your time. I could talk to you all day about this kind of stuff. This is what fuels me. So I love it. You guys are awesome.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Don.